All right, so this is lesson 2 of Unit 5. We're going to talk about social behaviors in a population today. There are 5 social behaviors you need to know. We will cover each of these 5. So what exactly is a social behavior? Well, social behavior is an interaction between individuals of the same population. And they've developed it as evolutionary adaptations for each of the types we're going to talk about. So the first we're going to talk about is communication language. 2, agonistic behaviors, and then 3, dominance hierarchy, 4, cooperation, and then 5, altruistic behavior. So let's go through the first one. We're going to talk about communication by movement. Communication is, there's lots of ways that animals will communicate through movement. Body signals. Populations are going to use movement to communicate where food is located. They're going to use it to alert others of danger. Communication might be a mating ritual. I know bees will do certain dance when they go back into the hive and they enter the hive and they want to tell bees where the flowers are so they can get pollen. They'll do a little dance that tells them the direction of where to find the food. It's pretty cool. Another way they communicate is through pheromones. They can communicate using chemicals. Pheromones are chemicals that are produced by the organism. So in the past, we talked about plants like the acacia tree. That tree, remember, when it's being attacked by insects and insects are eating up all the leaves, it will send a pheromone into the air that alerts the other trees to make their leaves either poisonous or not taste good so that they can protect their leaves. But animals do that too. It could be an alarm pheromone. It could be a sex pheromone. For example, minnows in the water, all of a sudden a predator or something will come in and they need to protect themselves, so they'll release a pheromone and they'll all congregate in shallow areas or in a group hiding so that the predator cannot get them. Sex pheromones, they will release the pheromones into the air and they will attract their mate that way as well. Another example of pheromones, a female mosquito, they're going to use the CO2 concentrations of our bodies to locate their victims. So the mosquitoes are, they sense the carbon dioxide in the air, and that is how they are attracted to you. So if you release a lot of CO2 in the air, you might be getting a lot of mosquito bites. Another one is a spider uses a pheromone that a particular type of moth uses, and it sprays that pheromone up into the air to lure the moths into their web so that they are caught by that web, and then obviously the spider is going to kill and eat that moth. And so that is how the spider gets its food, is because it sprays the pheromone into the air. That is a sex smell for these particular moths. Organisms also communicate by a song. So for example, bird songs. This is basically a mating ritual for the birds, or it might be an identifier, like this is, hi, it's me, I'm over here. And it might be a particular song that identifies that bird. And what's really interesting about bird songs is that birds actually have to learn that song during a very critical period during their development. And if they don't learn that song, for whether it be mating or identification, during a specific time, they will never learn it. And that's going to cause a lot of issues with either mating or even getting food, because you're not able to identify it, be an identifier. So they might not get the food that they need in order to survive, since they are still in this development stage living in the nest. So they may not survive in their population if they don't learn that song. Even crickets communicate through song. If you've ever had a cricket trapped in your house, you know what I'm talking about. All right, social behaviors. This is the second behavior. This is really interesting because populations aren't always per se on the same team. It helps with them keeping their territories, or it helps them with getting a mate. So antagonistic behaviors, it's kind of like a threatening and submissive ritual. It's very symbolic. No harm is really done to the other to both that are in it. It's mostly like getting snippy, like you see this tortoise here snipping at the other tortoise. It could be totally territorial. It could be about mating rituals. The polar bear is kind of arguing a little bit. It's kind of like when you argue with your siblings. No one should get hurt, but you're fighting over whether it's your stuff or their stuff or, things like that. So it's a territory or mating rule. Another type of social behavior is dominance hierarchy, and this is really, it's social ranking within a group. It's pecking order. Social ranking. I mean, the best example is the alpha wolf. It's very common and one that we know about, the alpha wolf. One alpha makes all the decisions for the pack, and everybody follows that wolf. Same thing happens with a lot of other organisms. You have a alpha that makes the decisions, basically tells people their order, what they're responsible for. And also this pecking order also determines who mates with who. So maybe the alpha wolf mates with all the females in that particular group and does not allow any of the other males in the group to mate. Things like that. All right, the fourth, cooperation. This is where organisms are working together to survive. A great example of this is the top one. I don't know if you've ever seen coyotes, which is common here in Michigan, if you've ever heard them hunting, but they are cooperative groups where they work together as a team to take down the prey. Here we have an example of hyenas taking down their prey. They're working together to get the prey. Sometimes it's not for food. Sometimes it's to protect one another. It might be cold and they're huddling together to stay warm, or during a storm they're huddling together to keep each other protected. So working together to keep each other safe. All right, the last behavior is altruistic behavior, and this reduces the individual fitness but increases the fitness of the recipient. So what this definition is saying is that someone in the population is sacrificing themselves to ensure that the population or a particular individual is going to survive. So think about it this way. In a population or a family, everyone shares very similar genes. Remember, the goal of life is to pass on your genes from generation to generation. That is the main goal for organisms. So if all survive, or a few survive, the genes can still be passed on. But if no one survives, then no one can pass on the gene. So it's kind of like an all or nothing type of thing. So one individual is going to sacrifice themselves in order to have the genes of their family or their group passed on, since they all have similar genes. Not so good for the individual that's sacrificing themselves, but as a whole, with the idea of passing on your genes, it works out really well for those individuals that want to pass on their genes. All right, so here are the 5 social behaviors. Again, communication language, antagonistic behaviors, dominance hierarchy, cooperation, altruistic behavior. All right, so I will be back in class for live classes on Monday, May 2nd. Please make sure that you get the 5.01 quiz on populations done. And also, if you are someone who has not done the Unit 4 test yet, it was due on Tuesday, April 26th. I'm not sure when you're watching this video, but please get that done. Please get it completed ASAP. Also, if you perform badly, please remember you get 2 additional attempts on the tests. And please make sure that you also check out the reteach activity in your announcements before you even attempt your 2nd and 3rd attempt. So that's all I got for you, and I'll see you guys back in for live classes. Bye, everybody.